This week, President Trump, by the way, blamed the forest fires in California on poor forest management. California officials tend to be Democrats, which may have something to do with that criticism, by the way. The establishment media, for its part, has spent a lot of time covering the fire, but very little time mentioning that it may be part of a bigger story. It may be in part caused by the warming of our planet. Why don't they talk about that? Why not at least ask the question? Lee Camp, host of Redacted on RT America, has just written an editorial on Truth Dig. It's titled, "The Mainstream Media is Lying About the California Fires." Mr. Camp is as serious as he is handsome, and he's good enough to join us now to talk about this issue. Lee, using the word lying, that's strong. Defend that use of that word.
Well, because it is lying by omission. When you have, Media Matters did a study on whether the mainstream media is mentioning climate change in all of this coverage of the California fires, tons of coverage of the California fires. You know how much they say climate change? 4% of those broadcasts say anything about climate change. But Trump thinks if we just rake hundreds of thousands of acres of forest, that'll solve the problem. The Trump administration also was putting it on radical environmentalists, they said, caused these fires. And, I couldn't agree more. And Hurricane Katrina was caused by those environmentalists that were trying to save that dolphin down there. That really was terrible of them to cause that hurricane.
Well, let me push back on you just a little bit here, and let me restate for you something I'm sure you know, that California has been plagued by these horrendous fires, many of which I've covered myself for decades and decades now. Why now do we change the focus and attribute the problem to global warming when this has been going on even before we were talking about global warming?
Well, Rick, as I'm sure you know, it hasn't been going on at this level for decades and decades. The fire seasons, according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, have gotten longer, they've gotten hotter, they've gotten more fires, and in fact, last year, 2017, was called the worst fire season in California's history. Oh, but now there's a new one, 2018, which has now beat 2017 as the worst ever, and we're going to see this continue. Each year will get worse, and we'll get hotter, and there'll be more fires, and I mean, this one was like nothing in paradise, which Trump calls Pleasure, California, was like nothing anyone had ever seen. I mean, hundreds of people may have died in this. The whole town just went up in flames because they've had a drought in California that's dried everything out.
Down to 1 minute, let's talk about the media side of this and the fact that most reporters, you would think most reporters want to outscoop other reporters, right? They want to be the ones who tell the story that nobody else is telling. So why aren't reporters in the establishment media out there ringing the bell and saying, hey, it's all about global warming? Why wouldn't they want to do that?
Well, I think it just comes down to where their bread is buttered, right? They're not going to question big oil and big ag, which are the two biggest contributors to climate change and emissions. So, that's who funds their networks. That's who buys the ads. So you can't question big oil, can't question big ag. Therefore, you can't talk about climate change. So that's why you get a mainstream media that 4% of the time is accurately giving you the story. I mean, that's half the story. Mentioning the fires without climate change is like saying a guy drowned and not mentioning that he was being waterboarded at the time.
Lee Camp, as passionate as ever on the day after Thanksgiving. Must have eaten that right turkey. Thank you, Lee, for your time. We always appreciate you.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.